Here are the tools necessary to remove your IMA battery. Showing them here. You'll need a wrenches. You'll have a socket. You'll need mostly a 10 millimeter. The 12 millimeter is necessary to remove the bolts that hold down the battery pack. And there's an 8 millimeter combination that you're going to need to remove one of the bolts on the IPU lid, the one that's near the switch. You might need a 10 millimeter to remove. There's one screw that holds the air duct onto the back of the battery pack. You might need that for that to get in there. I used a impact wrench to remove the 10 millimeter bolts on the mid-frame brace. They were quite tight, so I used that. It's a 6-point, and the 12-point was slipping a little bit, so I used that. You also need a Torx. I don't know why they did that. This is a T30. There are 6 bolts on the IPU lid that require the Torx. The rest of them are the 10 millimeter hex, other than the 8 millimeter bolt that you'll need to remove. I used you might need this to remove the retainers on the undercover. There's like 3 of those little plastic things, and you might need a putty knife or something to get under to help you release it. So those are handy. You also need this to remove the screws on the PTC sensors. You need a Phillips head to remove those. You need a wrench, or at least I needed to help remove the connectors. They were difficult to grab by hand, so just gently grab them with the wrench, and with the other hand push on the retainer tab. One of the connectors you'll see in the video, I used a flathead screwdriver to hold the retainer while I pulled on it, because it was very, very tough to get that particular connector off. This is a homemade bracket I made to lift the battery out. It's just a couple of pieces of angle iron, and just screw those to the places where the lid connects to the battery. Just use the bolts that attach the lid down. Worked pretty nicely. Just got in the car and just lifted the battery straight up. Well, I had to tilt it back and pull it back first, and then lift it straight up, and then my neighbor helped me to pull it out. There is one of the batteries that I pulled out with the PCT tabs at both ends. It's also handy to have some hemostats, particularly to install the screws to the PTC tabs. They're very small screws. You need to be careful with those, because those are fairly fine threads, and I would recommend that you use a technique in which you hold the screw parallel or perpendicular to the hole, and screw it in reverse until you feel it click, and then screw it in, so you don't strip those. I did use a little silicone lubricant on the one connector that was very difficult to get off. It has a rubber O-ring like gasket in it that made it very difficult to get off, so I put a little of that on before I replaced when I hooked the connector back up. And then there are also 4 of these sticks have an additional sensor, either thermistor or resistor or thermocouple, whatever, but 4 of them have an additional sensor on there. And I took the old ones off, took the original sensors off the old O sticks and taped them on the new sticks. Just use regular packing tape, and that seems to work. It doesn't appear to be too much of a problem with these shorting out. The holes that they're in are plastic, and the batteries do not touch each other, and they don't touch any metal. So, but it's always safe to have sleeves on them, and 3 of them had additional sleeves inside the holes as well. So, I guess that's about it.